Hi, it's December 11th. This is probably going to be somewhere, I think, the fifth video regarding living with COPD and the things I've done, the efforts I've taken to mitigate the damage. What I wanted to talk about today was the sense of depression that this particular disorder can wreak on you. One of the things I think that happens for a lot of us is the realization that all of a sudden there's things you can't do. Or going up the steps and finding out that, it was a tough chore. Well, that has a negative effect on you, and it does bring you down. So what I want to try to talk about today is that regardless of those things, you don't have to feel old, and you don't have to accept that you're going to die young. The truth of the matter is that when you have COPD, there's no definite certainty with any of these things. You can keep on going as long as your body tells you can keep on going. Well, the things I do, and the things that I try to do, and the things that I'm hoping I can get you to do will push you forward. I talked about a quality of life issue, and I talked about the COPD curve, which is a slow negative decline, and then a more ideal one is a quick, nice drop-off at the end. That's certainly the way I would rather have it. Well, I'm aiming for that. I talked about walking, how important that is, how it gets you up, how it gets you motivated, how it gets you to clear your lungs. Well, guess what? There's something else you can do. After you walk for a while, you can start looking at some other methods. One of those things is resistance training, and that's basically weights. Now, you can have weights in your own house, or you can go to a gym. Either way, these things are going to help contribute to the overall feel-good of this thing. It just really goes a long way with motivating you. Now, with resistance training, I'm not a doctor, but I've got more of an engineering background, and my logic said that muscles operate with oxygen. So if you can feed oxygen to your muscles, they keep operating and you don't get so tired. So let's say you want to build your muscles, or gain weight, or tone up. Well, you know what? You need oxygen to make that happen too. So if you start getting it seems like to me that if your muscles start growing, you've got to start feeding those bad boys oxygen. And eventually, some point in time, my logic said, Bob, you'll reach an equilibrium. Well, I haven't reached that point yet. I'm still gaining. I like that idea. I like the fact that I'm still gaining. You can do this too. Now, going to a weight room doesn't have to be a negative experience. And I have to admit to you guys, when I first went, my weight was down there pretty low. And I wasn't exactly the type that fit into that scene. There were some days when I went in there, and I'll be honest, I wore probably 3 t-shirts. I don't think that my arms were much bigger than my wrist. And I certainly know my legs weren't. But I knew that in spite of all these nice, healthy, magnificent people walking around in there, lifting weights, doing things, getting on the treadmills, walking on the stair climbers, and doing all the things they do, I had to overcome that self-esteem issue. So I simply went in there and I just started staying focused on what it was that I had to do. You can do this too. What I came to find out pretty much over time was that everybody in there is there for their own reason. You're not going to get approached by some musclehead going, oh, yeah, look at me, hey. They're not there to do that to you. So if you've got any insecurities about going in there being looked at, judged, characterized, don't worry about it. You're there for yourself, and you're there for the ones that love you. And you keep that up here, especially the ones that love you. That was something that drove me more than anything else. I don't have to be selfish about this. Started to realize it was for others. People that I felt like needed me. They made me feel this way. So let's say we're not going to look old, or feel old rather. Let's say we're not going to accept dying young. Let's look at going to that gym. If you've already done some walking, this isn't a far stretch for you. Most of these gyms have machinery now. You don't have to have all these free weights. You can start working with weights that you're comfortable with. One of the things that I found out that I did was I worked a cycle of machines at weights that I could deal with that didn't make me sore. One of the things you didn't want to do, or I didn't want to do, was to come back the next day so sore that I didn't want to do it. So the first 2 to 3 weeks, actually I was working with some fairly light weights and just taking what repetition I could take. Now, just like walking, it's going to force you to start breathing. And once you start breathing, well, guess what? You're probably going to cough. It's just the way it was. Now, for me, I had started walking probably 3 to 4 months before I went in the gym. So the impact of coughing was definitely minimized to some degree. But I still had to know that I still had to move forward. If you have your own weight machines, if you have your own dumbbells or something else that you can work with, I understand that too. But the point is, do it. Get off your backside and do it. Now, when you get started with that, you're going to start making gains too, just like anything else. You can take great pride in starting to add weight to those machines, or starting to add weight to those. Actually, it's pretty motivating once you start seeing yourself do that. When you start seeing yourself tone up, and I don't care what shape you're in, you will improve to some degree. And the neat thing about weights is you see a lot of your improvement on the front side early in the process. Some of the more significant gains that I've made have taken so long later on down the road that I didn't really notice the transition. But what I did notice was the transition in the first 2 to 3 months. So did everybody else around me. Now that'll get you going. I saw a picture the other day. If you don't know, that won't get you going. Of a fellow that I believe to be in his mid-late 60s on a skateboard in one of those bowl type arenas, where these young kids do their skateboard acrobatics. The guy had an oxylite tank with a cannula in his nose. That was like the coolest thing I could have ever imagined seeing. And it reminded me once again, I didn't have to feel old, and I don't have to accept dying. In fact, maybe you might go out doing some sort of triple flip on some kind of skateboard at 65 years old. Why not? Just do the things you can do. Get up, work at it, try. I've always tried to remain fairly serious about this, but there are a few things that actually get me smiling. And that's the progress I've made. And that's the feedback I've gotten from friends. It's really pretty cool. For a friend of mine that refers to a friend of his that has lost drive, lost hope, how does daggone remote control do something to get him up? Hey, maybe if he even has to go look for it, it's better activity than sitting there saying, I can't. I would never ask anybody to push themselves beyond what they're capable of. And I will definitely tell you at first on the weight training, take a slow, steady pace at this. Do not make yourself so sore. It just basically negates any of your desire to go back and do it again. I promise you that within just a month or two, you'll see some of the effects that can get you knowing. They can plant in your head that you can do this. I hope to maybe make you think, or have your friends think, or somebody else think that I'm not special. I'm simply the guy that decided to quit pitying himself. I'm simply a guy that decided to do something about it. I don't have any kind of special characteristics. Hell, I smoke 3 packs a day. I don't know if that's a special characteristic to you guys, but to me, it just told me that I was simply as easily addicted to something as anybody else out there. Another thing we will talk about is smoking later. I'm not going to be hypocritical about it because I smoked my fair share. But I'm going to tell some realities. Those of you who don't smoke, you probably won't get a grip on them. Or you'll just think that you've said these things all along. Well, for those of you that don't smoke, let me do the talking on this subject. Because I guarantee you some of my feelings carry a lot more weight than those of people that haven't smoked. Thanks for listening to me today. Get up and do something. Lift a few weights. Do everything you can do to feel younger today. Everybody take care. Thank you.